Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1130B, and today's date is November 17th, 2016, and the title of the episode is, The Shadow Government is Pushing Trump to Keep Russia as an Enemy. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, during the election campaign, we know that Trump made a lot of promises, and we have to see if he's going to keep these promises, because we need to look at his actions. Now, some of the things he's doing seem okay. Other things are like, whoa, wait a minute. What is he trying to do here? Is he with the shadow government? Is he with the central bank? Is he an outsider? Is he an insider? Well, until we see his actions, until we see what he does, it's very difficult to say at this point. I know people are out there screaming all different things, and they're using their emotions to get involved in this whole thing. They're not really looking at the actual facts of what's going on. They just want to go with whatever the corporate media is saying. They go off of that and they say, see, he's a racist, he's this, he's that, and which is absolutely ridiculous because it's meaningless. But we can see what the corporate media is doing. They want a country that is divided right now. We know the central bank, we know Soros and others, they want a divided country. They want the people to fight against each other. They're most likely hoping for a civil war. They want complete chaos. But what we're seeing right now is that Trump is making different plans with his transition team. And one of the things he said is that officials will be banned from lobbying for 5 years after they leave the administration. And which I agree with. They shouldn't have anything to do with lobbyists. Because what we're seeing right now is a lot of government officials, they say, let me go from this position right to becoming a lobbyist, and they get paid very, very well. So Donald Trump announces tough new anti-lobbying ban for all his staff. People on the president-elect's transition team cannot be lobbyists. They also cannot lobby for any for 5 years after leaving his team. Incoming officials for the administration will be subject to the same ban. And we can see that that's a good thing that he's doing, but there are certain other things that I completely don't agree with. But again, he's in the beginning stages of this. A lot of it is talk. A lot of it, the corporate media is blowing out of proportion. But we will have to wait and see. Let's not get our emotions involved in this. Let's see what he does, what action he performs. When Obama came into office, everyone said, okay, we have this new person. He's going to create change. It's going to be a great thing. And all of a sudden, his actions showed the opposite. And as time went on, it got worse and worse. Here we have the opposite thing, where everyone is out there screaming and yelling that Trump is not my president, he's going to be the worst thing ever. It's going to be like in Germany during Hitler time. I mean, you hear all these different things. But again, put emotions aside, look at the actions, look at the facts, research exactly what is going on. And what's very funny, I'll bring up one point here. I know during the campaign, Hillary had her campaign ads, and they showed Obama flailing his arms, and he said he was making fun of a disabled reporter. And yes, that reporter does have one of his arms curled up. But when you look at Trump's videos in the past, do you know he does that when he's talking about different people? When he's trying to make a point. He did it with Ted Cruz. And if you go back with different videos when he's speaking about different people and he makes fun of them and tries to imitate them, he does that with his hands. And it wasn't specific to that reporter because he actually does this over and over and over if you go back in time and you look at his speeches and what he does. He does do those hand movements, but we know what the corporate media wanted to do. They wanted to say, look, he's making fun of this person because they wanted to use it during their campaign. Just like the racist comments and all this other stuff. But we have to look through the propaganda that they're putting out there and go past this. Just like Bannon, who he wants to bring onto his team. Well, he works for Breitbart. Breitbart was started by Andrew Breitbart, which he was Jewish. They have many Jewish people working there. Joel Pollock is the senior editor in Breitbart. He is Jewish. So the argument kind of falls apart. But they continually try to push this on everyone. And we need to do a little bit of research and a little bit of fact-finding to see what the corporate media, is that really true? Or are they just using this as, let me see what they call it, clickbait? Because that's what they like to call the alternative media when they put out headlines. But we see the corporate media, well, they do the same exact thing. But that's real news. Everything the alternative media does is fake news. Now, out in New York, there is a mysterious dark skyscraper in New York City. And everyone looks at it and they say, oh, that's an AT&T building. But what we've come to find out is that this Long Lines building in New York, that's what it's known as, is not just an AT&T hub. It is an NSA surveillance facility. There was an investigation done by The Intercept which found that Project X building, this building was constructed to withstand an atomic blast and house and feed about 1,500 people for 2 weeks, is the host to the NSA, and it works with AT&T to conduct mass surveillance. And documents that were obtained by The Intercept from NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden says that the architectural plans, the public records, the interviews with former AT&T employees, well, they say yes. This is an NSA surveillance site codenamed Titan Point. And what we're seeing that this is part of a bigger system. It's part of a bigger, wider spy system. And basically, Titan Point is one of 3 core sites of the Blarney program. There are links to AT&T routers, operates powerful satellite antenna on the roof, and they suck up internet data. And we can see right now that we know from past reports that AT&T, they have designed software that spies on people, and that information is then given over to the government. And we can see from this, they've been doing this for a very long time. For those people who own an iPhone, where Apple was out there saying that iPhone is very secure, we have encryption, don't worry about it. Well, it looks like there is a problem, because there's a Russian digital forensic firm, Elcomsoft, found that if you have the iCloud on and it's enabled, data gets uploaded to the cloud. And we're talking about your phone records, your FaceTime conversations, all of that is kept up on the cloud. And this goes back all the way to iOS 8.2. And the government says, well, that's an open area, we can access that data. That doesn't come under privacy or violation of the Fourth Amendment. We can just take that. So we can see right now, most of these firms, well, they do it in all different ways to get the data to the government. Because the government wants this information, they're spying on the people. And of course, with the USA Freedom Act, they want all the corporations to spy on the people, and all they're going to do is collect it, since these corporations already have everything built in. It's much easier for them. And this is what they have done. Now, we know the government is continually spying on the American people. It has not stopped at all. And we see the chief of the spy organization, the NSA, well, he is resigning right now. And he is leaving office. And it looks like Trump is going to have to fill this position. Now, we understand the UK had their Brexit, and they had the referendum, which is just an advisory referendum, and it looks like the powers that be, the EU, they're going to use whatever they have to keep the UK in the EU. They don't want them to leave. So already they say, if the UK decides to leave the EU Commission will place a travel tax on British citizens after they leave the EU. The system would also mean the UK citizens would have to fill out a form to travel to an EU country. The British people will no longer be able to travel freely to Europe without paying a travel tax. So we can see already what they're trying to do is they're trying to make people think twice about this. If you want this to happen, these are the penalties. This is what the central banks always do. Look at the United States. If you don't sign up for health care, we have a penalty for you. If you don't believe in climate change, global warming, and I know the climate is always changing, but I'm talking about what they're saying is that people are causing this. Guess what? We're going to impose a penalty on you, and we're going to call it a carbon tax. This is the same thing they always do. If the people don't do what they want, they don't believe in what they're saying, they don't abide by the rules, they place penalties, they make it difficult for the people. And we can see right now they continually do this on an ongoing basis. We see the State Department will allow a private U.S. company to sell 26 American Predator surveillance and reconnaissance drones and support equipment to the United Kingdom for around $1 billion. So we already see that UK will be getting these Predator drones, and we can see right now that they are still ramping up for war. They haven't stopped this whatsoever. Moscow right now, they are having drills to prevent extremists and drones from breaking into the Kremlin. Very nervous about all of this. They've been having a nuclear drill. And we can see that the shadow government, they are not going to stop. Think about this for a second. After the elections, Obama purposely waited for the elections to be over, and he proposed an unpopular idea. He asked Congress for $11.6 billion extra outside the huge existing military budget for wars. Now, this huge pile of money is equivalent to the annual spending that the United Nations says could end the lack of clean drinking water globally. And by itself, it's more than the entire military budget of all but 14 other nations on Earth, 12 of which top spending nations are U.S. allies. This $11.6 billion would be added to another $73.7 billion in off-the-books war spending already appropriated. They want war, and he purposely waited to after the elections because this is not a popular topic. And Obama is out there urging Trump to stand up to Russia. And basically what's happening is the shadow government is using their puppets, the central banks are using their puppets to force Trump into going along with what they want. They want Trump in the game to push war because they know Trump already spoke to Putin, trying to calm the situation down. And we see they don't like this. So while Obama was speaking in Germany, he's doing his farewell tour. He was alongside Angela Merkel, and he's urging Trump, listen, you got to keep Russia as the enemy. We need this war. And we can see right now they're not going to stop until they get a war. If we look at the situation right now, not much has changed so far. We see that documents were found, and they were from the Islamic State. And the documents, they instruct the Islamic State fighters not to attack U.S.-led coalition aircraft operating over Mosul and all the surrounding areas. Once again, we have proof showing that the Islamic State is working for the U.S. government central bankers. I mean, think about all that has happened. The United States, Turkey, Saudi Arabia airlifting the Islamic State out of Syria, bringing them into Libya, transporting the Islamic State fighters from Mosul into Syria to fight in Aleppo, dropping supplies, ammunition, supplying them with Toyota trucks. I mean, what else do we need? I mean, the U.S. couldn't spot the oil convoy from a satellite that's hovering over Syria For over a year, they couldn't spot this, but Russia spotted it in a second and destroyed the convoys. The U.S. says, we don't see any oil convoy. Turkey was buying the oil. I mean, how much more proof do we need here? And we see that Trump right now, which is very interesting, he's going to be picking the Secretary of Defense, and the person he wants is Senator Tom Cotton. He's a senator from Arkansas. He sits on the Armed Service Committee and is a veteran of the Iraq-Afghanistan occupation. Cotton is considered a hawk. In other words, he's a neocon who wants war. And this is a very interesting pick because Trump right now is sending a lot of mixed messages. Remember, we need to look at his actions on what he's going to do. And so far, it's not looking good, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt until he is in office. We'll see how these people react, what their actions are. Is it business as usual? Are they going after the same goal they've been always going after? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm getting a bad feeling right now that we're heading down the wrong path. And we know that Trump has dealt with bankruptcy. Trump understands bankruptcy, understands when a system is failing. And maybe they put him into power to handle the entire collapse. I mean, we still need to watch, forget about emotion, look at actions. We see that there was a study done by IBM and Ponemon Institute saying that if organizations are hit with a cyber attack, 66% of the organizations will not recover. And they're talking about financial institutions. They're talking about the power infrastructure, the water supply systems, smaller companies, larger companies. And we understand that the United States government central bankers, they will try to push a cyber war. They're already doing it. Remember what they said during the elections? That they are going to cyber attack Russia. This has not gone away. They are still pushing their agenda. They still want a war. And a cyber attack is one way of getting it. And we can see right now they're going to be pushing this. And they will not let up. So again, moving forward, we need to see where all of this is going. We know the collapse is coming no matter what. We can't get out of it. I'm sorry. There's no way out of it. The system is dead. Everything that we've been looking at, the economy is going to collapse. Once they let the illusion go, the whole thing is done. The question is, are we going to war? Are they still going to use this to cover up the entire collapse? Will Trump be on board with the shadow government, the central bank, or is he going to fight them? We'll have to wait and see. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.